You are listening to Nat Turner Library Radio, featuring authors Michael Muhammad and Khalifa Muhammad. Nat Turner Library Radio.
You are listening to the Nat Turner Library Radio Network. If you are offended by black people discussing our suffering, black people discussing our struggle, and black people talking about solutions to our problems, then this show is not for you. You have been warned. Nat Turner Library Radio.
Tonight's subject, brothers and sisters, is a hardcore subject. Tonight's subject is one that you should take some notes from. Our guest is Chris Johnson, Brother Chris Johnson, the owner of Liberty Hall Media, a brother who's been a great fighter for freedom, justice, and equality, and the revelation of information for a very long time. Brothers and sisters, again, you're listening to the Nat Turner Library Radio Show. Who is the ADL? Who is the IRS? What is the Black National Debt? And all the related information. That's our subject for tonight, brothers and sisters, on February 28th, the last day of so-called Black History Month. You know, at Nat Turner Library Radio, brothers and sisters, we know Black History Month is every day of the year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 365 days a year is Black History Month here at Nat Turner Library Radio. But since it's the last one, we want to give you the true history of our enemies and what they've done in these last 100 years to subjugate you beyond the understanding of what the modern world wants you and I to understand. Again, I'm your host, Brother Michael Muhammad, executive producer of the Nat Turner Library Radio Show. And tonight's show, our featured guest, is the National Debt and the Black Struggle Revealed, who are the IRS, the Federal Reserve, and the ADL. We're going to interview our brother, Chris Johnson of Liberty Hall Media and the owner of Afronomics, the concept of it. Our brother is online, and we'll get to you, Brother Chris Johnson, after we get done with our announcements in our news segment. So please hold tight. Brothers and sisters, if you have any questions or comments for Brother Chris Johnson, we ask that you go to our Facebook page and or Instagram page or Twitter page. And all you got to do, brothers and sisters, is simply type in Nat Turner Library Radio Show. Before we get started, in the tradition of the African concept of giving respect where respect due, first and foremost, let me greet you all by saying, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the one God who appeared to us in the person of Master Wali Fard Muhammad, who came by himself 9,000 miles to teach the original man and woman what had been lost for 66 trillion years, and that is with the knowledge of the God and the knowledge of our enemy. And I thank him for forever raising up the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who I bear witness is the exalted Christ. He was a little man of Georgia at one point, and now he's risen to the title of exalted Christ, sitting on the wheel, alive and well, running things from the universal order of things. And we thank them both for leaving a divine reminder of this great truth in our midst, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, a man who I love, a man who I am a student of, and a man who I bear witness is the embodiment of that Jesus that you guys are looking for nowadays. He is that one. And as in their holy names, I greet the Asiatic black family who is listening tonight and those listening in the future. In the words of peace and paradise, assalamu alaikum. To my Hebrew family, we say shalom alaikum. And to the Kemetic family, Hotep, Christian family, we want to say praise the Lord. My Nawapians, brothers and sisters, Rahubats, for those who don't know, that just simply means may peace be unto you as well in the ancient Anunnakian language. Peace to the gods and the earth, to the 5% family. Black Power Fist to Attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz, Sister Yah Sentawa, Chairman and Zinga of the Black Panther Party, the new Black Panther Party, under the guidance of the late Honorable Dr. Khalid Muhammad. Peace to Brother Imam Akbar, Chief of Staff for them as well. We want to say peace also in Black Power Fist to the Nat Turner Gun Club, Huey P. Newton Gun Club, and to all of those that I had not mentioned in the past, including my student ministers in the Nation of Islam. Student Minister Abdul Sharif Muhammad, Dr. Ava Muhammad, Dr. Abdul Halim, Dr. Ridgely, Brother Student Minister Demetrix, Student Minister Ilrashad, Dr. Wesley, Minister Tony, Minister Chris, Minister Hafiz up in Harlem, Minister Patrick, Minister David down in the Caribbean area, and Minister Abdul Hakim out in England. We thank you for taking up the mantle of trying to raise the perpendicular, raising us up to the perpendicular from a parallel dead state and getting the black man and woman of North America and the world rised up so we can again rule again. Brothers and sisters, again, you're listening to the Nat Turner Library Radio Show. Tonight's powerful subject, as I stated earlier, is a powerful one. The national debt and the black struggle revealed. Who are the IRS, the Federal Reserve, and the ADL? Our brother, who is on the line, will be holding tight until we get to that segment of the interview. Chris Johnson of Liberty Hall Media, and also Afronomics. Brothers and sisters, what I'd like you to do, if you want to go to support our brother who is our guest tonight, go to the GoFundMe page that I have listed on the Nat Turner Library Radio page. GoFundMe, and simply / it's going to be, GoFundMe / Afronomics. Okay, that's GoFundMe.com / Afronomics. And that will help you support these causes. We don't make money here at Nat Turner Library Radio Show, brothers and sisters. And our guests, we like to support them. Nobody pays us for anything. This is all done out of the heart and soul of the Nat Turner family, namely myself as well as others. We take care of all of this here, and we don't have any money to give anyone. So when you have the opportunity to support us and support our guests, we want you to do that. Also, brothers and sisters, we want you to go to bromichaelmuhammad.com. That's BROMICHAEL MUHAMMAD, bromichaelmuhammad.com. You can also support one of our hosts, Sister AJ Jones, blackhistorycolorinbooks.com, Sister Nadira Khalifa at easylightsources.org. Okay, she is a sister who is daughter of our founder, Elder Baba Khalifa, and I'll go through the explanation in just a moment of what the Nat Turner Library is all about. And go to khabooks.com. You can also support my friend and chairman of the Nat Turner Library Radio Show, Brother Khalifa Muhammad, son of Elder Baba Khalifa. His book is a groundbreaking book, a book that should answer all questions of the critics. What is the Nation of Islam about? So the book is titled Frequently Asked Questions of the Nation of Islam, or FAQ, Nation of Islam, or Nation of Islam, Frequently Asked Questions. Go to Amazon to purchase this book. You can also download it by e-reader for just $5. And just type it in, read for yourself, all the questions. There's over 100 questions people ask, most commonly things such as, hey, do you believe in this? Do you believe in that? Read for yourself from one of our student ministers under the guidance of a student minister, Brother Khalifa Muhammad, under the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We also want you to follow us on social media, Nat Turner Library Radio Show. Type in the search box there. Instagram, Nat Turner Library Radio Show. Type in the search box there as well. For Twitter, go to NTLR-radio. That's NTLR-radio, stands an acronym for Nat Turner Library Radio. Please also, you can get the You can get to listen to our previous shows. We've had many, many guests this season. This is Season 3. We've had Season 2 as well as Season 1. You can find those archived on blogtalkradio.com / Nat Turner, or just in the search box, type in Nat Turner Library Radio Show. You get to listen live to all of those. But go to YouTube and Vimeo for the actual podcast of our shows for this season and last season. We've had many prestigious guests about some very good subjects. Attorney Malik, not Attorney Malik Zula-Shabazz. We've had Brother Chairman Nzinga. We've had Sister Cynthia McKinney, former Congresswoman. In recent months, we've had many, many others. Last week, we had a great interview with our brother, Dr. Umar Johnson. Dr. Umar Johnson had a great dissertation for the critics. He announced the opening of his school coming up soon in Delaware. These are all that you can listen to in all the specific details. I'm going to YouTube and Vimeo. Type in Nat Turner Library Radio Show. Of course, like the page and all of these social media so you can get notifications and such. My book, Checkmate, The War for the Black Mind, Part 1, The Black Woman, a research study into the subjugation of the black man and woman in North America's mind, and also the black man's understanding of history prior to the Caucasians' advent into our society. This is not a monologue book. This is a book about a history of myself, how I got into the study of this subject, and also into the historical accuracy and historical study of that subject matter itself. What happened to race relations in the world? How did all this happen? We even get to discuss some of the issues we're dealing with tonight. What is the origin of the Talmud? What does the Babylonian Talmud have to do with black people? What is the women's liberation movement? What was the purpose of it in the destruction of the black family? So on and so forth. My book, Checkmate, The War for the Black Mind, Part 1, The Black Woman. I am the author, Michael Muhammad, so you can buy the ebook version as well as get the hard copy, which I am still signing copies of and sending them out immediately. You buy that at bromichaelmuhammad.com. You can go buy the ebook to download today for just $9.99 at Amazon by going in and typing Checkmate and type in Michael Muhammad, Muhammad, and it'll come up with the sister who's a chess piece. And she actually, is enraged as she's being pulled on the black side with a black hand and also a white hand. That's the cover of the book. Brothers and sisters, again, tonight's subject, powerful one. If you know anyone who needs to hear this subject, or if you yourself are about to leave home and you're losing signal, you just call in to 515-605-9882. That's 515-605-9882. Subject tonight, national debt and the black struggle revealed. The black struggle revealed. What is the national debt of this God-forsaken country that we live in? And it's God-forsaken because there's nothing righteous in there. And anyone who saw the Michael Cohen hearings yesterday understands the dilemma of fall of America is right before us. And you are listening again to the
Mr. Muhammad.
Yes.
It is time for the news with Sister Tan.
It is. News. Well, let's get to it. Sister Tandra, are you there? Well, Sister Tandra. Welcome to this episode of National Library Radio Show on last day of Black History Month, February 28, 2019. How are you feeling, beloved sister? Oh, I'm doing well, by law. Ready to put another nail in the coffin of Satan. Yes, right. That's right. Well, thank you, Sister Tandra, for joining us. This is the most popular segment according to the reviews of the Nat Turner Library Radio Show. Everyone wants to hear what Sister Tandra has to say about the news.
Yes, sir. Let's get right to it.
Yes, ma'am.
The first article is from NPR.org. Meet the fierce cook who secretly fed and funded the civil rights movement. This article talks about Georgia Gilmore, who's a cook from Montgomery. She was actually very, very influential in providing food in the civil rights movement.
All right.
So what happened, what she did was she organized between her and some other women to sell pound cakes, sweet potato pies, fried fish, stews, greens, pork chops, rice at beauty salons, cab stands, and churches. And she also was served Dr. Martin Luther King, and all those would come by her house to eat at her place.
All right.
But what people don't realize is that what she did was take all the funds that she would receive from these cooks, all these meals she would prepare. She would take those funds, and she actually helped pay for the alternative transportation system during the Montgomery boycott.
Wow. Go ahead.
Yeah, she was very critical in actually having taken all that into her, her family taking care of that. So it was just amazing how no one really knows of her.
What's her name again?
Her name is Georgia Gilmore.
Well, let's give a shout out and a recognition as only a black ancestor can do.
Yeah.
May Allah continue to bless the spirit. Is sister still alive?
No, she actually passed away.
Transitioned? Okay.
Yeah, she transitioned.
Oh, okay. Well, may Allah continue to bless that. That's the sacrifice we need. What's your comment on that, sister?
I think it's a beautiful thing. So many people play roles in the civil rights movement that have not been mentioned.
Right.
And it's good to hear stories like this because you don't think about that. How they ate, what they ate, who they ate, where they ate. You don't think about those kind of things. But she was the one that was really doing all the cooking, a lot of the cooking back in the Montgomery days.
She had that good old Southern food.
Yeah, she had the good old Southern
fried chicken.
Fried chicken,
biscuits.
Fried fish.
All types of chops that they shouldn't have ate, but they had it,
Pork chop. And another thing too is Robert F. Kennedy ate at her house.
Okay.
And also Lyndon Johnson also has eaten at her house.
Wow. So she had a restaurant at her house.
Yes.
And the president came to it.
Yes.
Come on now, brothers and sisters. What need of you and I to do something for an enemy when this sister made a living out of her own house cooking food?
Yeah.
Okay, come on now. You heard of Green Book? I saw the movie. Yeah. Brothers and sisters, we got to do for ourselves. And so this sister's a perfect example. Shout out to our sister for feeding our people during that time period. They had no place to go. They wanted to poison our brother, Dr. King, and all the others, just for trying to integrate a system. We know that this thing wasn't going to work.
Right.
We know it's not working today, but sister still fed our people.
She did.
May Allah continue to bless the spirit of that sister.
As well. That's true.
What else you got for us?
That's from YourBlackWorld.net. How a makeup guru made $1 million in 90 minutes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is from Sister Supercent. Her real name is Renelle Stewart. She's a popular social media figure who launched a makeup line, and she made $1 million just in 90 minutes.
What?
Just from selling her makeup. It's called the Crayon Case. It's a cosmetic line dedicated to amateur makeup artists, inspiring them to use makeup, make fun with it, and to treat their faces as a blank canvas, and the crayon makeup as a tool. So she made over $1 million in 90 minutes.
Master Fard Muhammad, Sister Chancellor, once said in the Supreme Wisdom lesson, put yourself in heaven at once.
Yes.
And heaven, he said, is good home, cars, friendships, and all walks of life. Money, he started out with. But he also said in the early lessons for the brothers and sisters who are not familiar with the Nation of Islam teachings, our founder, the God himself, he said that in order to secure these things, you got to qualify yourself for positions already waiting for you.
Exactly.
Sister made $1 million in how long, Sister?
90 minutes.
90 minutes.
That's the launch of her new crayon.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
I don't even know what to do. I feel inadequate right now.
I know, right?
I feel like I'm like what can I come up with a hustle? $1 million is a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's in less than an hour. That's in less than 2 hours.
Less than 2 hours, right.
Wow, praise be to Allah. The black woman, right?
Yes, black woman, yes.
Black woman. This is black history in the making right here.
Yes, it is.
All right, what else you got?
Our next black woman is a 24-year-old woman launches a telecom company valued at $5.9 million.
Wow.
Our dear sister, Shamiria Moncrief.
Okay.
She's discovered this new telecommunications company called Testic Wireless.
Okay.
It's a prepaid company. She has about 1,200 to 1,500 to 2,000 customers right now. And she's her goal is to go, to a major network and have her own network pretty soon.
Okay.
But this sister's only 24 years old.
24 years old.
Yeah, and her company is valued at $5.9 million.
Wow. Shout out to that black woman. What's your comment on that?
These sisters are doing it. I mean, I'm just so proud and so thankful for our sisters to have this entrepreneurial mindset to get out there and to take over.
Wow, she made a network for herself.
Yes.
She ain't.
Oh, and the funny thing about this story is that she was so sick and tired of going to her cell phone company. Her bills would be so different and be just always something different each time she went in.
Right.
That's why she got so upset. She said, you know what? I'll start my own company.
That's what it takes.
Exactly.
That's what it takes. They say necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes.
Sister said, look, I'll do this myself. Y'all ain't doing nothing that ain't been done before.
Right.
We who study ancient Semitic science, we know that there's been signals passed around the earth. They call them vortices now, or latitude lines and longitude lines, and all that was being manipulated by the ancient Kemetic people. There's science to prove that. So we know this whole thing about communication around the world is not new. The ancient people did that, so our sister is just taking back what is hers.
She sure is.
May Allah continue to bless. What's the sister's name?
Her name is Shamiria Moncrief.
Shamiria Moncrief. Brothers and sisters who are listening, these articles are on the Facebook page of Nat Turner Library Radio. Just go to Nat Turner Library Radio on Facebook, like our page, and then read these articles for yourself.
Yes.
What else you got for us?
This one was from RT.com. Zimbabwe drops U.S. dollar and relaunches their own currency to revive their economy.
Wow. The
spiraling economic meltdown in Zimbabwe has prompted the central bank to introduce a discounted currency.
Okay.
The government is trying to reverse chronic cash shortages that left people struggling to get hold of basic goods. So they launched a new currency called the RTGS dollar. The RTGS dollar stands for the Real-Time Growth Settlement.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have now launched their own currency to try to revamp their society. Their country.
Understood. Well, hey, everybody's dropping American dollar.
Mm-hmm.
I think China is talking about it. Russia did it or is doing it as a world business standard. There's other countries, and Venezuela is doing it.
Yeah.
Nobody likes white folks no more, man. Brothers and sisters, they don't like white money. They don't like them. And this is a part of it. We got to do for ourselves all around the world. Nobody likes dealing with crooked white folks no more.
That's true. That is true.
All right. What else you got?
The next article is from TimeIncorporated.net. Amazon will pay a whopping $0 in federal taxes on $11.2 billion in profit.
Wow.
Now this, you all, fam, this is the reason why they have $0 in taxes is due to the Trump administration corporate-friendly tax cuts.
Wow.
So basically, what's happening is companies are taking advantage of the 35-21% corporate tax rate, and also there are lots of tax loopholes that allow companies that are making profits to avoid paying federal and state income taxes.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
But the IRS at the same time is taking more money from the average person like you and I.
Exactly. And on top of that, Netflix, who made $845 million in profits, is paying $0 as well.
Wow, they're not paying. None of these people paying federal tax. Now, you got a master's degree in business. What's your comment on that?
They honestly, from a financial perspective, they're taking advantage of what they can.
Right.
If there are tax loopholes in it, and you got companies taking advantage of that, then they're going to do that.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately for the average American person, people who don't have a tax law or don't have tax lawyers, don't have tax accountants, we can't take advantage of any type of loophole that we may find.
Right.
In anything, you got billionaires like Donald Trump who does.
Right.
So it's I think that for the average person, that it's sad that we are taken advantage of.
Absolutely. I'll say this real quick. Brothers and sisters, this is what we're talking about tonight. We're going to talk with our brother Chris Johnson, who's an economist, a black, strong, conscious economist, a strong black man. We've had him on the show before. Brother's going to go into the history, for those who are not familiar, how the IRS even got to be, what taxation is, what does it have to do with you, and me. This is what we're going to talk about tonight. So what else you got for us?
The next article is from CBS8.com.
All right.
Consumers are $1 trillion more in debt in just 5 years.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, America's total outstanding non-mortgage consumer debt is nearing $4 trillion.
Wow.
If you add the mortgage debt, the total consumer debt tops $13.5 trillion.
Wow.
Yeah, according to the Federal Reserve data as of October 2018, the non-mortgage consumer debt was just over $3.96 trillion, and is on a pace to break the $4 trillion mark for year end.
Wow.
This debt includes revolving debt like credit card, which is at $1 trillion, and non-revolving debt, which is like auto loans, student loans, and personal loans, which are at $2.9 trillion.
So which one was the biggest one?
The biggest one is the student loan debt. It's called auto loans, student loans, and personal loans.
Wow, so student loan debt.
Student loan, auto loan, and personal loan debt.
So we got the most debt of anyone else in the world.
Yeah.
Just to be able to be educated.
Yeah.
So that's a whole secret order thing. What's your comment on that?
Well, but it includes auto loans as well, and also includes personal loans too. So you have a lot of all that's included in that loan debt. But the fact that we have $1 trillion in credit card debt goes to show how the American people are relying on loans and relying on credit cards to just pay for everyday average expenses.
So that's amazing. I mean, to me, just as a regular old brother, I mean, that tells me that nobody got money.
Exactly.
The federal government owes money to who? We're gonna figure that out tonight. With our brother Chris Johnson. I know who they owe money to, but we're going to talk about who the American government is. How you owe money to yourself? Well, that's because it's a lie. Who do the American government owe money to in this national debt, and then we owe money to somebody else?
Yes.
So who's everybody in this country owing money to?
Right.
Who are we owing money to? We got any more, Sister Tangela?
Of course. The next article is transcend.org. Bill Gates, former doctor, says billionaire refused to vaccinate his children. This article talks about how the elite do not vaccinate their children.
They don't pay taxes. They don't vaccinate their children.
However, I know. However, they're very rich and privileged parents like the idea of herd immunity, but they don't want to take their risk associated with their own children when it comes to vaccinations. But they worry about everybody else getting vaccinated, but they don't vaccinate their own child, their children. And it's sad to hear that, because Bill Gates is a person who
is a proponent, right? He pushes vaccination around the world, but he don't vaccinate his own doggone children.
Exactly.
That's doggone hypocrite.
Right.
Well, that means it's something else that they wanted to do.
Exactly.
What's your comment on that?
I'm just honestly, it does not surprise me.
Yeah.
It just does not surprise me.
Satan will do what Satan does.
Exactly.
What else you got for us?
The next article is from NBCnews.com. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to be indicted on corruption charges. This is breaking news as of today.
Come on.
Israel Attorney General announced today that the office plans to indict Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on corruption charges after a 2-year investigation. It should be noted that the decision regarding an indictment is not yet final. The Attorney General was offered to conduct a pre-indictment hearing before reaching any final decision, according to the Israeli law.
Now, he must have been scoundrelous for a scoundrel country like Israel to put him up on charges.
Netanyahu, who is 69, who is serving his third consecutive term as prime minister and his fourth overall, has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing and called for various allegations against him a witch hunt.
Sound familiar, don't it?
I know, right? AJ Hill trying to remove him from office. Yes.
Birds of a feather? Well, we already know. We saw that Michael Cohen thing.
Oh, yes.
Thompson, you want to tell the audience real quick before we go to the next one what you thought of that Michael Cohen hearing?
That Michael Cohen hearing was, oh, my God. It's amazing how he was able to sit there and say all those things about Donald Trump because they were the truth.
Right.
But to come out and say that people, for the Republican Party, the things that they were trying to say that he was a fraud and he was a felon and he's a liar, The man is telling the truth.
Absolutely.
Point blank.
Birds of a feather.
Y'all president is a scoundrel, a liar, a cheater, scoundrel. Point blank.
Scoundrel. He's a demon. He's a liar. He's deceptive. Matter of fact, they got a Trump lie meter out there on some website. He's lying so much.
Washington Post said he had over 8,000 lies. This is his first year in office.
Right. I mean, that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
You know how many spankings I would have got if I lied that much when I was younger?
Right, exactly.
I mean, I would have been whooped so bad I wouldn't even been here. You know.
Yeah.
And what else you got?
The last article is from researchminister.com.
Researchminister.com. Support it, brothers. Researchminister.com. Go ahead.
San Francisco Minister Farrakhan's detractors, the real enemies of oppressed masses. The article talks about, this article is actually from our student minister Christopher, replied to a Jewish Star article by Jeff Bennett.
Yeah.
And he goes on and talks about the ADL history of illegal activity.
All right.
And the ADL, according to the San Francisco police investigators, have cost the ADL fine on over 950 political organizations, including NAACP,
right,
Rainbow Coalition, Greenpeace. I mean, it's a list of them.
Right.
You know.
They were spying on them.
Yeah, spying on them. They also they infiltrated countless police and sheriff departments across the country. They've been selling information on anti-apartheid groups to agents of the South African government.
Wow.
Passing surveillance and classified police data on Arab Americans to Israeli authorities.
Wow.
And passing off Israeli intelligence propaganda as ADL-generated research in an effort to sway American public opinion and government policy.
Now that sounds like the elephant in the room, Mr. Tangela.
Yes.
Here's this whole witch hunt about President Trump. Now, I'm not a fan of his. I just like the fact he's shutting this thing down called America. But other than that, all he did was talk to some Russians and possibly got an election as a result. Here's the country, Israel, who absolutely has changed the complexity of the American political system, financial system, and race relations in the country. Here's proof positive. Thank you, student minister Dimitri Muhammad, Brother Ilrashad, Brother Christopher Muhammad, all for exposing state. Do you have any comment on that, Sister Tangela?
It's clear as day. We know what the ADL is.
Right. They are the enemy.
They are the enemy.
Well, Sister Tangela,
thank
you for, again, giving us this black news. Brothers and sisters, Sister Tangela is a strong part of the Nat Turner family. And we thank you again, Sister Tangela. May Allah continue to bless you, and we'll see you next week. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, we got this topic at hand. Who is the national debt to? And what does that have to do with the black struggle? Who are the IRS, Federal Reserve, and the ADL, also known as the unseen hand? We're going to talk about it. Coming up, Chris Johnson after these words.
FinalCall.com. FinalCall.com. One word, FinalCall.com. The award-winning website for the realest and most accurate black news available on the planet. FinalCall.com. Fair, reasonable, accurate, and inclusive. We are a unifying website. FinalCall.com. Go there today.
This is your brother here, Brother Michael Muhammad, executive producer of Nat Turner Library Radio, and your brother. That's Checkmate, The War for the Black Mind, Part 1, The Black Woman. Did you know that the black mind has been under attack since the creation of the Caucasian 6,600 years ago? Ever wonder the connection between a black hole and the power of black women? Did you know that there is a mathematical connection between black people and the blackness of the universe? Want to know the true purpose of the women's liberation movement in the 60s and the original one that was in the late 1800s? What is the Louisiana-Mississippi syndrome? Again, that's the Louisiana-Mississippi syndrome. All of this and more in Checkmate, The War for the Black Mind, Part 1, The Black Woman. This is my first book, and this will not be the last. Go to the website, bromichaelmuhammad.com. That's BROMICHAELMUHAMMAD.com. You can also go to Facebook and type in Checkmate, The War for the Black Mind, and call me direct if you would like to book any engagements or anything dealing with Checkmate, The War for the Black Mind. 678-906-6306. 678-906-6306. This is your brother, Michael Muhammad, of Nat Turner Library Radio.
Stay tuned for Nat Turner Library Radio.
The Marcus Garvey Mid-Atlantic Movement. It will be a special initiative to organize brothers and sisters who live in the Mid-Atlantic section of America. Delaware is the first state of the United States, and it will be the first state for the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. If you live in Delaware, you need to hit me up. If you are in Delaware and you are serious about nation building, if you live in Delaware and you are serious about nation building, whether that is FDMG, whether that is Team Pan-African, whether that is NIBPA, whether that is the Unapologetically African Movement, I need you to text me 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. Again, 215-989-9858. If you are serious, we are approximately speaking of Connecticut down to D.C. Connecticut down to D.C. If you live in New York, if you live in New Jersey, if you live in Connecticut, if you live in Pennsylvania, if you live in Delaware, if you live in Maryland, let me say it again. If you live in the state of New York, if you live in the state of Connecticut, if you live in the state of New Jersey, if you live in the state of Pennsylvania, if you live in the state of Delaware, and if you live in the state of Maryland, those 6 states will make up the Marcus Garvey Mid-Atlantic Movement of Team Pan-African. And if you live in one of those 6 states, ultimately it's going to spread to all 50 states. We are Pan-Africanists. We are about everybody. I just want to use those 6 states as a launching pad, as a foundation upon which we can organize all African people across the country and around the world, brothers and sisters. I need you to text me 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. Again, 215-989-9858. If you are serious.
It's your brother here, Michael Muhammad from Nat Turner Library Radio Show. Brothers and sisters, I have recently launched my new writing, Checkmate, The War for the Black Mind, Part 1, which is dedicated to the study of the mind of the black woman and how our enemies have attacked the black woman to get to ultimately the black community. But I also have a website, bromichaelmuhammad.com, BROMICHAELMUHAMMAD.com. That's bromichaelmuhammad.com. On this, you will see me. You will see the M6X apparel, which has beautiful shirts, 100% organic black shirt. For the sisters, we have the Be Yourself, Love Yourself shirt. The shirt that says, I'm not a toy for a little boy, I need a man with a plan. And for our conscious sisters, modesty is loving yourself. When you disrespect women, you destroy the future for everyone. We have the shirts of 100% organic black, which gives all the attributes of our organic black man and woman. We have Honor Thy Mother and Thy Father. We have the 100% Black God shirt, one of the most popular. We have the Know Your Enemy shirt with the atrocities that have happened to the black man and woman of North America on the back. We also have the Checkmate book cover shirt in many different colors. We also have fragrances are available. You just simply have to tell me which one you need. And these are all the things you can find on bromichaelmuhammad.com. That's bromichaelmuhammad.com. The website, you can go to it from your e-reader, you can go to it from your tablet, you can go to it from your PC. You can also reach me directly at michaelasia33@gmail.com. It's michaelasia33@gmail.com. You may also call me direct at 678-906-6306. Peace.
Peace, you guys. It's Nadira here from Easy Light Sources. And I just wanted to let you know that the Easy Light Sources food guide is now available for $10 on easylightsources.org. The Easy Light Sources food guide covers 18 fruits and vegetables commonly found in any grocery store. If you're looking for ways to feel better in your life and to raise your vibrations, one of the easiest ways to incorporate some light into your life is through the foods that you eat. If you're interested in going into a plant-based lifestyle, the food guide also has your back with a few essays in the back and a few recipes to help get you started. Once again, the Easy Light Sources food guide is now available. Purchase your copy today at easylightsources.org.
Nat Turner Library Radio.
Nat Turner Library Radio.
Nat Turner Library Radio. And we're back. Nat Turner Library Radio Show. We are preparing for our interview with Brother Chris Johnson. And brothers and sisters, we're hearing the background music of a song from the Dipset crew in New York called Laughing At You. Because Satan right now thinks he's laughing at us, so we're going to laugh at him tonight. This is from a brother named Hell Rel. We're going to raise that hell. National Debt and the Black Struggle Revealed. Black man and woman, you need to listen to this show. If you know somebody who's driving around, brothers and sisters, and you know somebody who don't know anything about why they're paying tax season's coming up, all this mess, we need to call in tonight. Tell them to call in 515-605-9882. This is only live, brothers and sisters, so if you listen to the podcast later or if you listen to the link later, it's not going to be good for you. But if you're listening live, 2/28/19, February 28th, Thursday, 8:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tell them to call 515-605-9882. Be a part of this conversation. But I want to introduce to you a brother who for many, many, many years has been a friend of my friend, Brother Khalifa Muhammad, chairman and son of Baba Khalifa. And so this is a brother who I can truly say has done a lot for speaking and researching, if you would, about these subjects we're dealing with tonight. He is the chief operator of the Liberty Hall Media Group. He's also a brother who's an economist. He's also started Afronomics, a shirt that my wife wears a lot. And basically, brothers and sisters, we want to give him the utmost respect. I'd speak none other than my brother, the man of the hour. That is our brother, Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson. Brother, welcome to the Nat Turner Library Radio Show.
Greetings. How the afternoons tonight?
Oh, we're doing well. We're doing well. Black Power, brother. Assalamu alaikum. All that good stuff. Welcome to the Nat Turner Library Radio. We're doing well, brother. How about yourself?
Thank you. We're doing pretty good. Just getting myself out of the snow. We just got some snow about a couple of days ago, but we're good.
You good? Welcome to upstate New York. You know, born and raised in upstate New York. I know all about it. You get snow all the way up until April, late April, it seems like. You know, they said we got some cold weather coming down here to Atlanta. You know, so Brother Chris, we are going to talk tonight about the national debt and the black struggle revealed. You and I have been corresponding for some time. You got it all. I just want to set the stage real quick, Brother Chris, if I may, because people may not understand exactly what's going on. So I want to have a conversation that former chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank had with one of our congressmen. It's a regular old white guy who was sitting there asking them questions about where some money went from the American people. I want to set the stage, and then we'll go start the interview, okay? All right.
Okay.
Brothers and sisters, this is former chairman of the Federal Reserve, Ben Bernanke. Hold on.
Balance sheet, and one of the entries on the balance sheet is under assets, central bank liquidity swaps, which shows an increase from the end of 2007 from $24 billion to $553 billion in change at the end of 2008. What's that?
Those are swaps that were done with foreign central banks. Many foreign banks are short dollars and come into our markets looking for dollars and drive up interest rates and create volatility in our markets. What we have done is, with a number of major central banks, like the European Central Bank, for example, we swap our currency, dollars, for their currency, euros. They take the dollars, lend it out to the banks in their jurisdiction. That helps bring down interest rates in the global market for dollars. And meanwhile, we're not lending to those banks, we're lending to the central bank. The central bank is responsible for repaying us.
So who got the money?
To financial institutions in Europe and other countries.
Which ones?
I don't know.
$500 billion, and you don't know who got the money?
The loan went to the loans go to the central banks, and they then put them out to their institutions to try to bring down short-term interest rates in dollar markets around the world.
Well, let's start with which central banks got the money.
There are 14 of them, which are listed I'm sure they're listed in here somewhere.
All right, so who actually made that decision to hand out $1 trillion that way, $500 billion? Who made that decision?
The Federal Open Market Committee.
Okay, and was it done at one time or in a series of meetings?
A series of meetings.
And under what legal authority?
We have a long-standing legal authority to do swaps with other central banks.
Do you have
it's not an emergency authority of any kind.
Anything specific about it?
Do you know my counsel says Section 14 of the Federal Reserve Act.
All right, we actually looked at one of the arrangements, and one of the arrangements is $9 billion for New Zealand. That works out to $3,000 for every single person who lives in New Zealand. Seriously, wouldn't it be better to extend that kind of credit to Americans rather than New Zealanders?
It's not costing Americans anything. We're getting interest back, and it comes back. It's not at the cost of any American credit. We are extending credit to Americans.
Well, wouldn't it necessarily affect the credit markets if you extend $500 billion in credit to anybody?
We are lending to all U.S. Financial institutions in exactly the same way.
Well, look at the next page. The very next page has the U.S. dollar nominal exchange rate, which shows a 20% increase in the U.S. dollar nominal exchange rate at exactly the same time that you were handing out $500 billion to foreigners. Do you think that's a coincidence?
Yes.
All right, well, the Constitution says, no money shall be drawn from the Treasury but in consequence of appropriations made by law.
This money is not drawn from the Treasury.
Well, let's talk about that. Do you think it's consistent with the spirit of that provision of the Constitution for a group like the FMOC to hand out $500 billion to foreigners without any action by this Congress?
Congress approved it in the Federal Reserve Act.
When was that?
Quite a long time ago. I don't know the exact date.
The original act is 1914, I believe.
I don't know whether this provision was in 1914 or not, but the Federal Reserve Act was in 1913.
All right, and at that time, the entire gross national product of this country was well under $500 billion, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Is it safe to say that nobody in 1913 contemplated that your small little group of people would decide to hand out $500 billion to foreigners?
This particular authority has been used numerous times over the years.
Well, actually, according to the chart on page 28, virtually the entire amount that's reflected in your current balance sheet went out starting in the last quarter of 2007. And before that, going back to the beginning of this chart, the amount of lending was zero to foreigners. Is that
it was zero before the crisis? Yeah, this was part of the process working with central banks to again to try to get dollar money markets working normally in the global economy.
All right, my time is very limited.
The gentleman's time is expired. The gentleman from New York.
Chairman.
All right. If you didn't understand what you just heard, brothers and sisters, that was the most clear-cut description that I can give of the confusion. That was a senator, I believe, grilling then chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank, Ben Bernanke, about money. Where is the American money going? Brother Chris, let's start the show. So what's your comment on that before we go into some other details, Brother Chris?
Well, just listening to it, I can tell Bernanke is not a good history student. And also, and we'll get into this, as the conversation moves forward, there's things that I noticed when they were talking about how do you move this kind of money, how does it disappear? Well, you're familiar with direct deposit, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. For those who don't know, direct deposit came around in about 1976, 1977. Okay. The U.S. Treasury were running commercials about using direct deposit to protect senior citizens from getting mugged as they go to the mailbox.
All right.
Nice thing. But the real reason why they put direct deposit in, it's easier to move large amounts of drug money to get laundered.
All right.
Okay. That was the underlying reason. And also what you can do is there's a technique. I was watching the Discovery Channel called Shoot Not to Kill. They were dealing with non-lethal weaponry. They have this technique for hackers. It's called the man-in-the-middle technique, okay? So let's say that you're sending a wire transfer to Temple number 7 in Harlem, okay?
Right.
So let's say you're sending $1,000. What can happen is a hacker can get in the middle of that transaction and change a couple of numbers where it can go from 1,000 to 100 and then send it on. So that type of technology exists today.
Understood. All right. So you still there, Brother Chris?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay. Got you. So I want to ask you a question though. Before we continue, I want to give you the opportunity, brothers and sisters who are listening. Again, the call-in number 515-605-9882. That's 515-605-9882. You have a school of thought with Afronomics and the Media Hall Group. If someone wants to ask you some questions or hire your services, how can they do so?
Okay. There's a couple of ways you can get in touch with me. You can email me at libertyhallpress, one word, @gmail.com. You can call me, area code 515-129-9972, or if you want to use snail mail, it's Liberty Hall Media Group, 240 State Street, number 2452. And that is Albany, New York, 12207.
All right, we'll come back to that information just to reiterate, make sure that people got it. Brothers and sisters, you can also get this information on the Blog Talk Radio page for the show tonight, which is titled "The National Debt and the Black Struggle Revealed." All the information that Brother Chris just stated is there. Also, his GoFundMe page, which is gofundme.com/Afronomics, AFRONOMICS. So let's jump right in, brother. Give us a good class on this whole thing. We'll start with the elementary thing from the very beginning. How did the Federal Reserve come to be? What is the IRS in reference to the Federal Reserve? And how did the ADL get involved in all that around the same time? Let's start that off, and then we'll go right to some other subjects.
Okay. The Federal Reserve, we're going back to 1914. There's a Republican senator, Senator Aldrich, who got together with the powerful industrialists and bankers of the day, Paul Warburg, J.P. Morgan, Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, Henry Ford. They all went and spent 2 weeks on this island named Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia.
Right.
And from there, they came up with this idea of a centralized bank, which became known as the Federal Reserve Bank. Now, what also happened simultaneously was this. The bankers needed someone that could promise them that they would sign the 1913 Federal Reserve Act. Enter Woodrow Wilson. So he got the backing of the bankers, and they pretty much led him into Washington, and he signed off on the 1913 Federal Reserve Act. Okay. Now, Okay. Now, contrary to what people believe, and I'm going to throw the IRS into this as well, neither the Federal Reserve Bank nor the IRS are connected to the federal government.
Talk about it.
Okay. Both the Federal Reserve Bank and the IRS are foreign private corporations. Now, I'll give you an example. The IRS was formed, their articles of incorporation was done in Puerto Rico and not the U.S. Okay.
All right.
Now, let me skip around here. I'm going to give you 2 dates that I want you to remember. Okay. And this will get into how we get into national debt. Okay. July 5th, 1930. Okay. July 5th, 1933. Okay. This date is when FDR chose to abandon the U.S. gold standard. Now, we're talking right in the beginning of the Great Depression that he chose to do that. Now, I'm going to fast forward you to August 15th, 1971. This is when President Richard Nixon severed permanently the U.S. dollar from the gold standard. See, the reason why you have currency, whether it's the euro, the yen, or whatever, attached to a precious metal, in theory, it's supposed to help control inflation and prevent hyperinflation. Okay? Once Nixon cut the dollar off from the gold standard, now you just started printing monopoly money.
Absolutely.
And we've been doing that, and we've been doing that for nearly 50 years. Right. Fiat economy.
They call it fiat money. Right. Is that right? Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So for those who are into Black's Law Dictionary, you'll find fiat money or fiat economy. Basically, what the brother is saying is that the money has no intrinsic value. Okay?
Monopoly.
And
yes, sir.
Yeah, and I think Sister was giving in one of the news articles she was reading earlier about, since the U.S. dollar has no intrinsic value, now foreign corporations, what they were doing, they were actually making a run on the U.S. gold reserve supply.
Gotcha.
And so in order to prevent that, that's why Nixon had to sever the dollar from the gold standard. But what's happened now is this. OPEC trades in U.S. petrodollars. Okay.
All right.
Gaddafi, and you know this better than anybody, when Gaddafi was telling his brothers in OPEC, look, let's find another currency to buy and sell oil that's backed by a metal. Had Gaddafi succeeded, it would have sunk the U.S. economy overnight.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
And I don't know if you remember this, to show you how dangerous it can be, brother, it happened right when the Million Man March took place. Remember when the government went out of business that day?
I remember.
Okay, Clinton was out of town, and I said, now why would the government go out of... They ain't had no resources. And when you're dealing with a fiat economy, it's like the only way you feel that you can get yourself out of debt is just to keep printing more money.
Right.
Okay. But the money has no value because it's only backed by the confidence in the federal government to do business.
Okay, so now let's go into that, if I may. I know what you're talking about, but I know there's a brother or sister who's listening live or that's going to be listening in the future, because most of our listens come from the podcast in the future. And they're going to say, "What is this brother Chris talking about?" So I want to play devil's advocate for a moment and ask a very elementary question. How is it? This is the fundamental. How is it that the Federal Reserve System, which is the Federal Reserve Bank, got to be a private entity? How did that even happen? I know it is. That's what he said, but how did that even transpire? If you understand what I'm asking.
Yeah, and, it's a little beyond tonight, but to kind of give you an overview, what they did, because remember, this was in secret, so nobody knew about this except the bankers and the industrial titans of that day. Okay?
Understood.
So,
yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so this really had nothing to do with the government except for the Republican Senator Aldridge, who I think was married to the daughter of J.P. Morgan, if I'm not mistaken. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So go ahead.
Let me interject real quick, brothers and sisters. Read this book that I just posted to the Facebook page. It's called "The Creature from Jekyll Island" by G. Edward Griffin. That's "The Creature from Jekyll Island." It's a second look at the Federal Reserve. Later on, we'll talk about a passage from it, but just wanted to interrupt you. Forgive me for interrupting you, brother. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, we're good. Where were we?
You had left off about J.P. Morgan, yeah.
Right. So the private foreign corporations, okay, so they're private and they're foreign. Now, if you do your research, you'll find out that people were actually buying stock in the Federal Reserve banks. Okay? It's set up where there's a 7-person board, and then it breaks down into there's 12 districts. And I can read those 12 districts here. Okay? So you got District 1 is Boston. District 2 is New York City. District 3 is Philly. District 4 is Cleveland. District 5 is Richmond, Virginia. Okay, number 6 is Atlanta. And I got a story here. Number 7 is Chicago.
Go ahead.
Number 8 is St. Louis. Number 9 is Minneapolis. Number 10 is Kansas City. Number 11 is Dallas. And number 12 is San Francisco. Now, here's a little sidebar. One of the banks in the Atlanta district, the Miami branch, I don't know if you've seen the documentary Cocaine Cowboys, the first one.
I did, yes.
Okay, so I don't know if you remember when they were going to the Federal Reserve and they were talking about there was so much cocaine money going through there, they had to keep buying the the money counters because they were running out of things to put the money in. In fact, they had one year where they netted nearly $700 billion.
Right. I
okay.
remember.
So, right. So that like I said, that took place in your neck of the woods.
I agree. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right.
I was going to say real quick. In fact, I drove past the Federal Reserve Bank here in Atlanta a few months ago. Brother, you can walk right up to the Georgia State Capitol with no problem, but that Federal Reserve Bank has all types of cameras, barrier protectors, you name it. You can't even get within 50 yards of that building without someone aiming something at you. Yes, and it's right in the heart of the business district of Atlanta. I just wanted to comment on that.
Wow.
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Now to go further into the dialogue. Now, this is something that I kind of came across almost by accident. The IRS. People think that the IRS is under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Treasury. It's not. What the IRS is, it basically serves as a collection agency for the Federal Reserve and ultimately for the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund.
Right.
Okay. So all of the taxpayers, you think you're paying money and it's going into the U.S. Treasury. It's not. It's basically going to the Federal Reserve, and then it takes that money and gives it to the IMF.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm with you.
Okay. So just so people can begin to understand what the real deal is. Now, you're not going to get this in a textbook. I promise you.
Oh, of course not.
Okay. So with the IRS, it's basically a collection agency. Because think about it. Notice how they have a criminal division where you actually have agents who are armed that work for the IRS.
I've seen them.
Okay. And I know a lot of our people are thinking, why would they have, when it comes to collecting, like I said, they're not collecting for the U.S. government. It's basically a private collection agency. And I'm just trying to let that sink in for people so they can understand what this thing is about. Now, just another side note. I was reading a book. They interviewed a former consultant to the IMF and the World Bank. Now, we're in 2019, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This consultant said from the beginning of the Federal Reserve, 1913, 1914, to today, the U.S. dollar has lost 97% of its purchasing power. 97%. So you figure going back to those dates that I mentioned, July 5th, 1933, and then August 5th, 1971, those 2 days have probably accelerated the decline of the purchasing power of that dollar.
All right. So I see the plot. I see the plot thickening here. So the IRS. Let me make sure I sum it up for the audience. So you've established it greatly. If you need more detail, brothers and sisters, buy that book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. So you established the creation of the Federal Reserve, and in order to collect from the American people, to make sure the Federal Reserve Bank gets its money, the IRS was created as a collection agency. That's why they're collecting. I get letters from them every 2 weeks about something. I mean, honestly, about something. And so that's the fuel that I use to fight this institution, because I know if they're doing it to a brother like me, can you imagine what they're doing to Ray and Keisha and them in the hood? And what they're doing to all the other brothers and sisters who have no idea that this is an institution that doesn't even represent the United States government other than what they allow them to. And so that's the reason I present it in that manner. And so you've established the IRS's purpose. And so now the brothers and sisters listening to you right now, they want to know the main part about the black struggle, if you would. Or excuse me, I know you're going to finish your thought, but they want to know how does that affect the average brother and sister today. In other words, they're increasing more. They're not no big company is paying taxes anymore. No major company. We read the articles today is paying big tax. They're not paying taxes, but the IRS is going to still collect. They're collecting even more money from the American people. My tax attorney, for example, my tax guy told me last week. He said all of his clients are paying at least 20 to 30% more tax this season than they ever had. Everyone's complaining, and he said now we just read an article where the corporations are paying nothing. And so the question Ray and them want to know is how did that even get to be? So let's go into that if you're prepared to do that.
Okay. Let's go back. You've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Absolutely.
Okay. Remember the chapter where he talks about the power of corporations?
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, okay. So there's also a documentary. I don't know if you've seen it. It was done by 3 white kids out of Canada. They got a grant from the government. It's called The Corporation.
Yes, I do remember. Yes, I do remember that documentary. Yes.
Okay. Now, near the beginning of the documentary, they were talking about how I want to say the 14th Amendment, where we were coming out of slavery, and that amendment was supposed to be for our citizenship, okay, to be recognized as persons. So what the rich did was they made an argument that the business is a separate person. The Supreme Court agreed, okay, and now you're seeing corporations, which if you go back, the root word of corporation is corpse, okay? So now you're using a separate legal entity, and see, this is what's called the Rockefeller rule, and the Rockefeller rule is own nothing but control everything. What the corporation does, like this, the corporation is like you're giving birth to a child, okay? It has its own separate, quote unquote, social security number, credit history, etc. So now the corporation takes all the risk, but not the individual. That's why if you were trying to sue Donald Trump, okay, and everybody says, well, Donald Trump didn't pay any taxes. Donald Trump, the individual, didn't. But the Trump organization, yes.
Got it.
See, there's rich people, they don't put things in their name.
Wow, okay.
See, that's the game that rich people play.
Exactly. In fact, if I may interject, Michael Cohen yesterday during one of the sections of the testimony, Michael Cohen, brothers and sisters, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Michael Cohen was the fixer, or that's a gangster term, but Donald Trump is a gangster. But it's a term, basically he was a top lawyer to handle problems for Trump, financially and otherwise. And so Michael Cohen said, and I quote, in order to pay off Stormy Daniels, the adult film actress, the porn star, the high-class hoe, he said basically, in order to pay her off, Trump said, you pay her, and then my foundation will pay you. So he didn't want nothing to do with direct payments because it would have implicated him in some acknowledgement of using this woman as a prostitute. So I'm just bearing witness to what he's saying. Go ahead.
And see what that does is, so when the attorney pays the girl and then the foundation pays Cohen, now there's probably a certain way that they'll label that transaction.
Yeah. In fact, he said it yesterday. He said it was attorney fees. They had labeled it attorney fees.
See? Right. There you go. Or it could be a consulting fee, but they found a way to legitimize that transaction.
Indeed. Continue what you were saying. Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you understand that rich people are playing more financial chess, and you understand, and that's why when you go back into Rich Dad, read that chapter about the power of corporations and how rich people use corporations for not only estate planning, but asset protection.
Got it.
Okay. So that's kind of a nutshell of dealing with the IRS and the Federal Reserve. And we can kind of come back to that in a minute. Now we're going to get into the Anti-Defamation League. Okay.
All right.
Now, you guys did some, I'm talking about the research for the Nation of Islam. You guys did some very good research for that 3-volume thing about the secret relationship between blacks and Jews.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 4 volumes, actually.
Okay. Oh, it's 4?
Yes, sir. We got the
Leo, man. Okay.
Leo, yeah, the 4th one. If you ain't got it, go get it, brothers and sisters. The Leo Crow case right here in the city of Atlanta. The case in which a Jewish man had actually killed a woman, blamed it on a black man. They arrested the black man. And then, let me tell you real quick, the ADL tried to use that story to say that was a case of anti-Semitism. Even though the Jewish guy did it, they tried to say the fact that people were upset. You know, the Jewish guy killed the white woman, and so white folk down here in the South wanted to kill. I think they killed and lynched the guy. And they said it's anti-Semitism.
Yeah, they lynched him,
In fact, they lynched him. They killed him. They still got the memorial over here somewhere in Atlanta. So they tried to say that was a case of anti-Semitism, but what they didn't realize is leading up into that, they blamed it on a black man, the Jew again, blamed it on a black man. The black man got ostracized and messed up behind that. So that's the whole thing of why we put it in as volume 4 in the secret relationships between blacks and Jews. Yeah, we got some good researchers. Student Minister Dimitrik out of Memphis Mosque, number 55. Good shout out to him. Shout out to Dr. Wesley. Shout out to Brother Ilrashad. They did a great job on that. Yes, sir.
Okay. And it's because of that situation that gave birth to the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith.
Talk about it.
Okay. Now, like you said, you ran down that thing about Leo Frank. I think it was a pencil factory, and I think it was like a 7-year-old girl that he killed.
Yeah,
and from what my research showed, that there was a brother who was a janitor who was the eyewitness. He was the key witness for the prosecution. He testified, and I guess what happened to Jewish people was say, well, if they'll take the word of a black man, we ain't got a chance down here.
I stand corrected. It is a 3-volume series. The 4th one is the 4th one is Jews selling blacks. I apologize. Jews selling blacks is actual auction sales from Jews selling us as slaves. That's the problem. It is 4 volumes, but the actual secret relationship between blacks and Jews is 3 volumes. And I'm putting it on Facebook page right now, brothers and sisters. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, you're good. So what I've also dug up, and I think your research team did as well, what the ADL has become, it's really become nothing more than a private counterintelligence agency.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I'm going back to, my days under the tutelage of ancestor Steve Coakley. Okay.
All right. That's my man. May Allah be pleased with him. Steve Coakley was the first to teach me about the Nebrith. Indeed. Go ahead.
Okay.
He was the first one. The first time I ever heard about the Nebrith was him. Yeah.
So what we found was, and this is an article that we dug up, it's April 13, 1993, where we found out about the ADL spy network. And the article reveals that there has been over 40 years of espionage by the ADL. Okay? Now, there are 2 agents who were on the ADL payroll. One is Roy Bullock. His code name was Cal. He was in the Bay Area. And what he would do when he moved to L.A., he would pick through the garbage, and he started collecting dossiers on left-wing progressives, Arabs, black groups, and those South African exiles who were participating in anti-apartheid movement.
Got you.
Okay. In fact,
now let me ask you a point of education. the apartheid movement, which was the South African government, they received nuclear weapons from Israel as well during that time period. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Or I don't know if it's nuclear weapons, but they received weaponry and all that other stuff from Israel during that time.
Yeah,
period.
they were basically, they developed such a tight relationship. I knew they were giving arms to the right-wing extremists in South Africa during that period.
Got you. Okay.
And,
yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. And so there's another guy here. His name is Tom Gerard, who's an ADL spy, former CIA spy, and get this, both Gerard and Bullock, while they were spying for the ADL, they were also being paid by the South African government to spy on anti-apartheid activists and groups.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And they developed a dossier on Noam Chomsky. Now, this is May 1975 when they were spying on him because he was a major critic of Israel. So, quote, while he has a number of specific source references at his fingertips, they're talking about Chomsky, he can be handled by an equally informed academic person.
Wow. That's the neutralization. That's the neutralization tactic.
Yeah. So, and in fact, they were so much of an intelligence agency, the FBI began to resent them, even though the ADL had done work with Hoover during the early days of the FBI, which brings up a speculation from my part. Do you think it would be safe to speculate that the ADL may have participated in the takedown of the Honorable Marcus Garvey?
Absolutely, they did. I would think it would be safe to assume that. According to the mathematics of logic, side angle side equals side angle side, then these two objects are meant to be congruent. They've done it before. They've worked with the United States government and others to take down. I interviewed Student Minister Abdul Sharif Muhammad here, who was the owner and the CEO of NOI Security from the 90s. You remember that story, right? And NOI Security, just real quick deviant on this, NOI Security was taken down in the same process with the ADL to the United States Congress with information from the IRS and other groups saying I got a copy of it. They got the whole 50-page or 100-page report that they presented on their intelligence on NOI Security. So this is the same thing that they did before. I'm sure they're doing it now to other groups, and they even got sued for it. So, yes, I am 100% certain of that. Continue. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes. So, also we found out that the ADL was actually spying on Chris Hani when he was in Cali before he got assassinated.
Wow.
Okay. Now, here's the deep part about how devious the ADL is. Now, they weren't as concerned about the neo-Nazi and the skinheads as they were about Arab groups, okay? But what the ADL would do is they would use pictures of neo-Nazi and skinheads on ADL literature to scare Jewish donors into giving to the ADL $60 million budget. Abraham Foxman, who's the national director, his salary comes out of that, and he gets paid about $560,000 a year.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. They are
so
something else.
Yeah. So it's like just when you think they couldn't go any lower, you know.
Well, they had now that ties into another branch of the ADL. The NABRIF is so correct me if I'm wrong, the hierarchy is like this. The NABRIF is the mother organization. Then you would have the ADL, you would have ADL underneath it, along with, let's say, the Southern Poverty Law Center, which has been taken over now. The sad part is, I was just telling my wife this the other day, the Southern Poverty Law Center was started by Julian Bond, who pretty much sold the interest of that to the Jewish groups. and now they use the Southern Poverty Law Center as a lightning rod to label groups. They had a news thing on here the other day where they talked about the Nation of Islam. They said, yeah, and the Southern Poverty Law Center observes hate in here. When groups like the Nation of Islam that calls white people devils, they are a big threat to the American society or whatever this, you know. And this is what they just said 2 days ago here in Atlanta. So there's no way that a brother who started this group, Julian Bond, and even the Honorable Elijah Muhammad donated money to Julian Bond in the 60s to help start the Southern Poverty Law Center, from my understanding of history. How is it that now all of a sudden, 50 years later, here they come talking about us? So, yes, they are a division of the ADL. Yes, sir.
You know, and also what we also have to remember is now you say you're doing an undergrad in 50 Hillel houses based on college campuses, and that's like an extension of that spy network because now you use the Hillel houses to spy on activity.
Got you. Now, when you say Hillel, spell that for the audience, please.
It's Hillel.
Got you. And Hillel is a Yiddish Hebrew name for another Jewish spy network. I am familiar with what you're talking about, but for the audience purpose, we want to make sure they're aware of it so they look it up themselves. Continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was courtesy of Brother Coakley, who taught us about how the ADL is spying on groups on campus. They use the Hillel houses to do the work.
Got you. Okay, got you.
Okay.
I'll definitely look that up. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, there's over 550, and I wouldn't be surprised if you went to any of those HBCUs in Atlanta. You'll find one.
Oh yeah.
You'll at least find one on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. So the ADLs. So now here's a question. I want to connect it to because our time is coming short. So I want to make sure we connect these pieces. So we got the ADL, IRS, Federal Reserve, the conditioning that you had talked on earlier of how that affects the black man and woman in North America. Now let's expose Satan real quick. We got the Rothschild family. You had mentioned the Warburgs earlier. Who is Lord Jacob Rothschild? I believe his name is. And what do they have to do with the Federal Reserve System overall?
Well, let's go back to Lord Meyer Rothschild. And this is a quote that I remember when I was 18 years old. He says, "Permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who makes its laws." Okay?
Got it.
The Rothschilds, and I've been hearing speculation that their net worth is about over $500 trillion.
$100 trillion.
That hasn't been.
Yes, we talked about that. Yeah, it'd be $500 trillion. It's accurate.
Okay. So, and I'm looking for this book here, and I just found it. You know, always got to keep a library. There's a book that you should get. It's called The Suppressed History of American Banking.
Okay. Who's the author?
Okay, I'm going to spell his first name. It's Xavient. And the last name is Hayes. Yeah, the last name is Hayes, Haze.
Xavient Hayes, yes. Okay, I'm familiar with his name. Yes, sir.
Okay, so in this book, it talked about how Lord Rothschild used the slavery question in America to trigger the Civil War. And anybody who's a student of history understands that there is only one winner in a war, and that's the bankers.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
And the other thing you also have to understand is no one gets killed over ideology. You get killed when you start messing with the global economic order. Okay? You remember the JFK movie?
Yes, sir.
Okay? When Kevin Costner met Donald Sutherland, Agent X, and he was running down that whole game about who's financing the helicopters and why Kennedy was pulling out the troops and everybody was saying he messing with the money, so they blew his brains out.
Right.
Okay. When King started talking about the money that was supposed to go to the war on poverty was going to Vietnam, and they shot him in Memphis.
Yes, sir. I remember.
Okay. And even Malcolm, when he started using, his morality and getting people to get away from drugs and everything, he started messing with some global economic money that he probably didn't even realize.
Understood.
And then he gets killed in the Audubon. So when you start messing with the money, you'll get killed, or in Mr. Garvey's case, he got exiled.
Right. He had Marcus Garvey had too many followers for them to kill him outright. There would have been a civil war that would have destroyed America. He had 5 million people in the UNIA, and so they made a calculated thing to say, let's get him out of here rather than kill him, because believe me, they wanted to kill him, but they knew 5 million people would have turned. If you take 1 million black folk right now who love somebody, that's why they ain't tried to do too much with the Honorable Mrs. Farrakhan. They try to kill him indirectly. They try to kill him indirectly with cancer and other diseases and stuff to make it seem like he's going to die naturally. Because they know if they had killed him outright, they know good and well. First of all, we wouldn't have a country no more. There would not be a country. They knew that. So they knew that then with Marcus Garvey. They knew that with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So they always try to kill our leaders that have that kind of pull with some indirect medical things or have some quiet assassination. So, yes, sir, go ahead.
Right. And to add on, to show you how tough Garvey was, our ancestor, Dr. Tony Martin, wrote a book called Race First. In the book, he says that Garvey was so tough, Mussolini had to call the White House and said, what y'all going to do about this Garvey thing? Because I can't bum rush Africa.
Wow.
Okay. That's how heavy Garvey was. In fact, he was more international than most companies like Firestone and everything else. So you had to shut him down because he was becoming too global. In fact, his newspaper, the Negro World, used to be smuggled into the diamond mines of South Africa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Indeed. And that was all during that time period. So now let's brother Chris, let me go and make sure that we tie this in. So we have the creation of the Federal Reserve, we have the creation of the IRS, and we have the ADL. Do you have a timing on when the ADL was created?
It's right around the same time that the Federal Reserve Act was signed.
Say that one more time.
Okay, it's right around the time when they signed the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, and I'm using the nation's research. I think the Leo Frank case was right around 1914, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. So they used that as a cover story so that anybody who exposes the Rothschild family, which is a Jewish family, if you say anything against them or anything against what they're doing in this world domination thing, you're an anti-Semite. And here comes the ADL. Am I correct in that statement?
Yeah, it's a bully tactic.
Absolutely.
It's a bully tactic.
Absolutely. Tony Martin also wrote the book called The Jewish Onslaught. Brothers and sisters, all these books that we're talking about tonight are on the Nat Turner Library radio page. If you want to buy them, I have links to buying them. I don't sell them. I don't make no money on it, but education needs to be done on these subjects so you know what you're dealing with. So now let me ask you a very direct question about this subject, Brother Chris, because you're doing a great job of giving us history and the black struggle. Now, this national debt thing, how did it start? How did it go from zero to now? What is it, 7-something trillion or 14 trillion? I don't even know how much it is. How did it get to that level?
You got to remember that America was born out of the womb of bankruptcy. So we almost have to go back to 1789. America had no money.
Wow.
Okay, and so so from 1789 up to the Civil War, you've had a series of recessions, you've had a series of wars, and see, that's another thing. Notice how when you have a recession or a depression, they use war to bring you out of it.
Right.
Okay, so in other words, and I don't know if you're familiar with an economist named John Maynard Keynes.
No, name does not sound familiar.
Okay, a lot of Republican presidents swear by what's called the Keynesian philosophy, and when you look at,
I've heard of that before. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so what you have to understand is this: an economy, in order for an economy to thrive, you have to keep it in a perpetual state of war. So in other words, you constantly have to manufacture a boogeyman.
Wow.
To justify your industrial complex, your military industrial complex.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I see. And by the way, brother Chris, by the way, brothers and sisters, I just put on the Facebook page the National Debt Clock. It's a website. I knew it was there. Right now, the national debt as of this second is hovering at what is it? 22 trillion, 64 billion, 593 million, and then it keeps on going from there. Just so we understand how ridiculous this is. Continue what you were saying, brother.
So I always tell people that America is nothing but a new Jack Rome when you make the comparison, because ultimately, because America is in a fiat economy, ultimately the dollar value will go to zero. There will come a day when somebody will have a wheelbarrow full of money and go inside, and when they come back, the money is there, but the wheelbarrow's gone.
Got you. Indeed. So it's worthless money. They want us to pay it. Now, you're an economist, and I want to ask you a direct question because I never asked anyone this on air before. Is there any hope that the United States government would ever pay this debt to the Federal Reserve Bank? Is there any hope from an economic perspective?
I say never because what's going to happen is America is the biggest debtor on the planet. And what you're going to start noticing is that part of, like, any municipality, even where you're at in Atlanta, don't be surprised if they start selling off part of the infrastructure to foreign nations.
Indeed, they have already. I've seen it.
Okay. Okay. So don't be surprised. And I used to say this jokingly in college. I said, don't be surprised if you wake up one morning and your police department is now all Chinese.
Wow.
Because what you have to start doing is, in your municipality, find out who owns the bonds, because the treasurer is selling bonds to somebody.
That's what it is. Okay, so now China owns a whole lot of treasury bonds of the United States.
Okay.
So
that's why now you're seeing China. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm going to say, so I'm just asking the question to your point. So if I own treasury bonds in the U.S. and the U.S. says I can't pay it, then I have a right to go inside the United States and say, hey, look, that's mine, and that's mine, relative to the value of the thing. Is that right?
Right, because a bond, it's a debt instrument.
Wow.
It's a debt instrument. Okay, and that's why when you start taking money off of precious metal, that's how you get into this, because they think they can just print their way out of it, but you're basically devaluing the dollar.
Wow, that's something else. Can a private citizen buy a U.S. Treasury bond?
I think so. I mean, you remember the savings bonds commercials?
Yes, sir.
You know, where they say, take stock in America. So I think you can still buy those bonds. Now, they may take forever and a day to mature, but you can buy them.
So if a private citizen or a group, let's say you and I got together a group and we collected $100 billion, right, and we wanted to buy $50 billion or $90 billion worth of U.S. Treasury bonds, and they obviously are not going to collect it. Then we all of a sudden said, hey, we want our money out of this. We want to cash it in. The American government is not going to be able to do that. Can we then hence go and say, hey, look, we want this land, we want that land, if you follow where my logic is going?
Right. And because you're the holder of the bond, so yes. Because you are the borrower. Well, no, you are the lender, and Uncle Sam is the borrower.
Got you. Okay. So now we have a plan to get our own land then. So we just have to figure out what 7 to 10 states is costing land-wise, and buy that much in Treasury bonds, and then say, hey, we want our money. Oh, well, you can't pay us. You can't pay us, so guess what we want, you know?
Yeah, hey, you know, if that's a way to get land, hey.
That sounds like a plan. Well, we won't say too much more than that on air.
Yes,
right.
sir.
So, brothers and sisters, you're listening to the Nat Turner Library Radio Show. We are interviewing my brother, our friend, owner of the Liberty Hall Media Group, and Afronomics economist, black conscious economist, Chris Johnson. We are talking about the subject tonight, which is the national debt, the black struggle revealed, and who are the IRS, Federal Reserve, and the ADL. Brother Chris Johnson has given us a good, thorough education on the origins of this from an economics perspective. And Brother Chris has also made it very elementarily understanding of this. So now the brother or sister, Brother Chris, who's listening to this, and it's like, oh, my God, this is too much. What can we do? From an economic perspective, what can we do to fight this whole crooked system of the Internal Revenue Service, particularly now it's tax season? What can we do?
Oh, here's what I recommend, okay? When everybody gets their tax refund, all right, the first thing that you need to do is to build a pantry in your house. Doesn't matter how big or how small it is. Take some of that tax refund money and build you a pantry, because during any kind of turbulence, you must have control of food supply.
Got you. All right, check there. Okay.
Okay. Also, create your personal war chest. Like, I give a challenge. I said, can anybody raise $1,000 in 90 days and have that set aside for whatever? Okay.
Okay, got you. Okay.
That's the second thing. The third thing is everybody must create a home-based business, whether you are product or service-based.
Okay, got you. Check. All right.
Okay. You know, so just those three things, because I'm always looking at what it is that we can do at a grassroots level.
Got you. So let me make sure.
And a fourth thing. Yes, fourth thing is when the weather gets better. Now, I don't know how it is in Atlanta, but up here in Albany, the city has these community garden plots. Okay. We need to get into these community garden plots and start growing food and then teaching the young people how to go into business for themselves by selling the produce. This is what Fannie Lou Hamer wanted to do with her Freedom Farm project.
Got you. Yes, sir.
Okay, so just those four things that you can start on.
Understood. Okay, got you. So make sure we reiterate this. We make sure that we build a pantry, fill it with food, so that in the case of a disaster or economic collapse, we have a way to feed ourselves. Okay. Number two, we want to make sure that we have some kind of savings, so that way we can survive. Now, this is part of the Nation of Islam survival kit. We actually talk about this for the last 83 years, I think. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad prepped us well. In fact, prior to the Y2K computer crash, potential. We had a whole thing in the Nation of Islam about preparing our homes for this kind of disaster coming, where you have at least 3 months worth of money and food saved, at very least 2 weeks. And we've had enough disasters in the area, so that's something in the Nation of Islam we prepare. But our listening audience is not just Nation of Islam members, by the esoteric group. The esoteric group, every black man, woman, and native man and woman is a part of the Nation of Islam, so we want to include all of that. Now, I have another direct question, and then we'll close out this segment and talk about how people, again, how they can support you and get more information on Afronomics and whatnot. Now, so we have the government doesn't have the potential to ever pay this off. I mean, I agree with you. It's out of control. The Federal Reserve Bank is owned by the Rothschild family and private banking system. The question I have, this is just a personal question from me to an economist. If we can create a black financial system, meaning independent of the United States, that we have with our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean, which are close to us physically, and the brothers and sisters in the African diaspora, what would we need to base it on? Is there like a common commodity or product that we can base it on, and how can we implement that?
Okay. I think it would depend on if you want to base it on a precious metal, be it gold, silver, or nickel. And that would have to be discussed amongst those within the diaspora, those, and especially those in the African Union. But I think it is possible, because even though Gaddafi was cut down, at least he gave us kind of a blueprint of what that possibility can look like. Understood.
Gotcha. And that's actually why they killed him, because he was in the process of doing that. He was in the process and actually initiated the process of making an independent financial market for just the African Union itself, independent of the Western powers and the Rothschild family. And so the next thing came, here comes Hillary Clinton with her lies and deception, saying, hey, look, we need to get him out of there, he's a terrorist or whatever, and the rest is history. Wow. That's the whole conspiracy of why Gaddafi was killed, in a nutshell. It had nothing to do with anything other than he wanted an independent banking system from the Rothschild family. Now, there's some rumor, I don't know if you heard about this, Brother Chris, that Vladimir Putin several years ago there's an audio clip going around of him on YouTube talking about that we ought to kill, he meaning him and the West of the powers, they ought to kill the Rothschild family. You ever heard anything about that?
No, this is a first, but, Putin is KGB.
Right. Yeah, KGB.
Okay,
right. I know what you were saying, yeah.
Yeah, wow. So it wouldn't surprise me to get that close to that family.
Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. If you go on to, I'll put a see if I can find it and put it out there. But I know he declared recently. Yeah, I know he declared independence from the Rothschild banking system, which is why he's enemy number one to the United States system. That would also explain why Trump is so, so adamant to bonding with him, because if you're a debting country like this and you're in debt and there's no hope of it being paid. The only thing that you can do is say, hey, look, let's befriend somebody who can fight with this, because America cannot fight the Federal Reserve System by itself. They need to have a larger country, such as China, such as Russia, to go along with them if they're going to do it. But the ADL and these other organizations, which represent the secret hand, if you would, of the Rothschild family, they're so embedded in the American system. There's just no way that they can actually do that themselves. So I'm with you on that. Well, brother Chris, go ahead, continue. Go ahead and comment. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. And so what's going to happen is you're going to see a new scramble for Africa because that is the ultimate prize. There's so much wealth in Africa. You look at what China's doing, Russia's coming in, and it's even to the point where the traditional colonialists were basically approached the African Union and kind of said, look, are you going to choose this pimp or stay in this stable?
Right. You're right. You're definitely right about that. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I'm with you. Well, Brother Chris, do you have any? We're going to leave this subject where it is for now. We'll bring you back later on that. I wanted you to give the audience an opportunity if they want to expand further with this subject with you. And what service, do you have any services and products that you offer that the audience can take advantage of?
Well, right now I'm in the process of getting my first book out, which is called GOAT, Gospel of Afronomics Theology. And what I'm looking to do is actually to create a seminar or webinar to where anyone who wants to be a quote-unquote disciple can sign up for it. I'm still in the process of getting all of the kinks out, but that's the main project that I want to get out this year. I also do speaking engagements. I actually write business proposals, business plans, or just to consult with people who are in different stages of business.
Understood. And that's a wonderful thing. Now, the Afronomics T-shirts, are they still available?
They should be. It's been a while, but they should still be available. Yeah, they should still be available.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, brothers and sisters, you are listening to the Nat Turner Library Radio Show. This is my brother, economist and Afrocentric empowered black man, speaking the truth about the Rothschild family. We've been well fed with a history of this. Brother Chris, I want to give you 2 minutes before we close out. What's your final comments on the subject, and what do you know black folk need to know about this particular subject?
Well, all I can say is what the Boy Scout says, be prepared, because it's just beginning. Just make sure that you're prepared to handle this age of turbulence, because it will get turbulent. Just make sure that you and your family are secure and can weather the storm.
Got you. We talked about that survival financially, survival physically. There's really not much hope for the economy to survive, brothers and sisters. You know, they often, Brother Chris, they often put Jay-Z, Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, and some other celebrity in front of us, and they say, hey, look, they're making it, so you can too. Well, everyone wants to be rich and free, but there's no way possible that 50 million black people can all be millionaires at the same time in this system that is making us to be a slave to it. Now, we can be millionaires, yes, but not in this system.
Now, even in this system, based on our purchasing power, there's supposed to be 300,000 black millionaires right now.
Absolutely. Don't have that, and we just don't have that. Well, Brother Chris Johnson, brothers and sisters, that is the brother who you are listening to. We thank you for your great input, Brother Chris, the national debt and the black struggle revealed. And do you have any, I got 30 seconds for you, do you have any final comments for the audience before we go?
Just pay yourself first, no matter what you do. Treat yourself just as important as that cell phone bill.
That's right. Well, Brother Chris, I'm going to leave you as I greeted you in the words of peace and paradise. Say assalamu alaikum. Thank you, brother, for filling our bellies with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, Brother Chris. The national debt and the black struggle revealed. You just heard it from Afronomics specialist. You must tune in to this kind of subject, brothers and sisters, because next week we're going to hit something very, very hard, you know, Satan is real. This ain't no fictitious creature. And so Satan is trying to kill you. We heard from Chris Johnson this week. Last week we heard from Dr. Umar Johnson about the psychological assault on black leaders. Well, guess what we have on a special day this coming Tuesday? On a special day, we have Dr. Wesley Muhammad, brothers and sisters. I'll say it again, Dr. Wesley Muhammad will be talking about Jewish satanic sciences. I'll say it again, Jewish satanic sciences. Next Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, special time, call that number, 515-605-9882. You've heard the controversies about marijuana. You've heard him talk about the California Project, what they're doing chemically out there to destroy us. He talked about the Atlanta Project over the last couple of years, how they're making homosexuals out of black men and women here in North America. He has actual scientific proof from there. They're all Jews. They're all Jewish doctors, most of them. Not all of them, but most of them. And so we want to come in on Tuesday. We want to talk to him about these very serious sciences that Satan is trying to do to kill you and me, brothers and sisters. That's coming this Tuesday, 8 p.m. right here on Nat Turner Library Radio. Tell somebody if you didn't hear it tonight, tell them come and listen in Tuesday. Ask questions. We're in a war, brothers and sisters. We are in a war. I wish it wasn't this way, but this is what it is. Call it what you want. Hate teaching, call it whatever you wanted to call it. We're in a war and we got to fight. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said our weapon of choice is the truth. And we heard it tonight from our brother Chris Johnson. He gave us the truth, the history, told us what we need to do. And you need to know that is Satan. The Rothschild family, particularly Lord Jacob Rothschild, they are Satan. They run it. $500 trillion and counting. Welcome to hell. Brothers and sisters, next week, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, Jewish satanic sciences. We're going to be talking with this man on Tuesday. Good friend, Executive Council member of the Nation of Islam, my brother, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, will be in the building, inshallah, on Tuesday, brothers and sisters. You are listening to the Nat Turner Library Radio Show. Go to bromichaelmuhammad.com, brothers and sisters. Go to khabooks.com. Support our guest tonight. Go to gofundme.com/Afronomics. Support our brother in his Afronomics movement. Jewish anti-Asiatic sciences next week. And we are the Asiatic black man and woman of North America. Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Dr. Wesley Muhammad will be in the building. And I'm going to leave you, brothers and sisters, as I greeted you in the words of peace and paradise in the ancient black language of Assalamu Alaikum. Stay strong, black folk.